Hey folks, lyarri here. Today we're reacting to Game Titles by Scott the Woz. I really liked the last Scott the Woz video I watched. I'm excited for this one. Let's go.
Hey y'all, Scott here. Ever seen one of these?
Yeah.
Nostalgia. You may be interested to know how that, alongside the other 84 letters of the alphabet, came to be. Well, I don't mean to brag, but let's just say I couldn't ethically f the inventor of the alphabet. That's right, my great uncle Ed. That's where the letter E came from. He invented letters. Why did he do it? Well, he was getting frustrated at not being able to name things.
Mr. Bones! It's Mr. Bones!
Why? What? When? How? We can't escape it. We all have to refer to a video game by its title at some point. You can only get so far without it.
Give him rats.
So far is pretty damn far. But that just shows how important a good title is, because without it, I would have no goddamn idea what this game was about. Titles are oftentimes conglomerates of words that sound nice together, but ultimately make no sense when you analyze them. Elden Ring? Nah, old circle. But we're so used to how games are titled now that we don't think twice about a game called Concrete Genie. Huh, naturally. So let's
Just all that matters is how it makes you feel. Obviously.
start by analyzing these things, and how the most popular game series of all time's name makes no damn sense. Super Mario Brothers. What just came out of my mouth? Dad? Platforming game starring brothers Mario and Luigi, but Mario is obviously the main star. Luigi only comes into play when playing multiplayer, and they're super because one, the game before this one was titled Mario Brothers, and two, the Super Mushroom power-up transforms them into Super Mario and Super Luigi. So the title doesn't necessarily make any sense, it's just a checklist. So it's no wonder they dropped the Brothers moniker a bit in. Retroactively, Nintendo did confirm that Mario and Luigi's last name is Mario. God, f their parents. But I don't think they thought that far ahead when titling this game back in the 80s. Honest to God, this reads like a translation flub. After Super Mario Bros. 3, Nintendo started naming Mario titles Super Mario Blank, Super Mario Land, World, even spin-offs like Super Mario Kart. It's definitely an evolutionary step for a franchise. When enough people understand your series, you no longer have to worry about your title being anything elegant. It just has to get the job done. Oh, what's this? Mario Golf. When you have so many titles in a series, it becomes harder and harder to name each one something unique.
Like, as a kid, it made it so easy for me. Like, oh, I wanted a tennis game, better get Mario Tennis. I appreciated that.
Making some titles interchangeable. Eventually, we got Super Mario 3D Land and Super Mario 3D World. I mean, these do nothing to describe the actual games. It's Super Mario in a 3D land. Okay, well, what makes that so different from Super Mario in a 3D world?
It's a world.
At that point, why wasn't the first 3D Mario game not titled something like this? And instead it was titled, and you fucking wonder why people don't take video games seriously. Super Mario 64. Following a titling scheme of including the console the game is on in the title. It really helps answering that question. Give me a second. This can be something fairly mundane, like how many Super Nintendo games start with Super in the title. That means Super Punch-Out, Super Soccer, Super Metroid, all fine and good, but I mean, for a game as serious as Super Metroid with the title screen being decorated with corpses, Super feels a bit like it takes away from how serious the game can be and almost seems to dumb it down to simply being Metroid, but bigger. But it's such an iconic title in gaming that it just feels right.
Yeah.
Super Castlevania 4, though, like, you already sold me. If they just called it Castlevania 4, fine. If they just called it Super Castlevania, fine. Super Castlevania would have made all the sense in the world, considering 4 is a bit of a retelling of the setup to the original Castlevania. But no, it reads as if there's some standard Castlevania 4 out there I don't know about. Oh, the name is available. The Castlevania series does have a fairly consistent titling method, usually going for the subtitle of Blank of Blank. Rondo of Blood, Symphony of the Night, Circle of the Moon. Oh, some of these actually sneak in some cute acronyms. Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow was the first Castlevania on the DS. Castlevania Harmony of Despair was released on the HD consoles at the time. Castlevania Lords of Shadow Mirror of Fate, outside of being a prime example of two whole subtitles, both using the Blank of Blank format, released on the Nintendo 3DS. So Mirror of Fate kind of alludes to the illusion-filled screen on the portable, which a couple DS and 3DS games did a similar thing in their titles. But most of these are fine by me, even the ones that don't follow the format. Castlevania Bloodlines, I think about good names for vampire-based action games featuring distant relatives of characters from previous Castlevania games a lot. And this one's a close second. So it shocks me to see the series stoop to the low of this. Witness tampering. Castlevania. Just Castlevania. Is there anything special about this one? Like, is it a fresh start for the franchise? A reboot? A remake? No, it's just the first 3D Castlevania. Good for it. I got out of bed this morning, so I accomplished something too. Let's forget my dad was ever a thing. This is a scenario where the overused 64 subtitle for Nintendo 64 games would have been completely welcome. And in this case, most fans just end up calling the game Castlevania 64 because what else are you gonna call it? Well, yeah, but what system is it for? Nintendo 64 games, I feel like at least a third of the library must have 64 in the title. With Super Nintendo, using Super in the names at least worked both in the context of being a standalone title and a Super Nintendo game. What the hell does this number have to do with Donkey Kong? The use of 64 in these titles can sometimes be confusing. It doesn't imply this is the series' big leap into 3D. Super Mario 64 sort of set the precedent, so with a game like Mega Man 64, I'm sure many fans thought, oh, this is Mega Man's next big step. My next big step is going to Denny's for the second night in a row. It's a port of Mega Man Legends from the PlayStation. Well, just call it Mega Man Legends, or if your fetish is that crippling, Mega Man Legends 64. Duke Nukem 64 was just the Nintendo 64 version of Duke Nukem 3D, but Doom 64 is an entirely unique entry in the Doom series, so much so that it received a modern remaster, yet many people always assumed it was just a port of the original Doom. But then you have Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards. What's the point of the number here? You already have a subtitle. Putting 64 in the titles of these games almost feel like these companies were beckoning to fans who only had the Nintendo 64. Like, hey, finally, a Mega Man for you! But hey, at least 64 became an iconic number within the gaming community. It's so specific that when you put it in a title, people know what it means, and it definitely rolls off the tongue with a lot of these names.
Yeah.
Monopoly for Nintendo Switch. Could you be more specific? This is a trend I will never fully understand. How some game titles do the for Nintendo Switch or Nintendo Switch Edition subtitle. I see this mostly on that console, but other systems aren't immune. 9 times out of 10, a game with for Nintendo Switch in the title isn't like super optimized for Nintendo Switch or has crazy unique features. It's the same as any other multi-plat version, and 9.5 times out of 10, it's a digital-only release, which means you can only find it by going on that system's specific storefront. No fucking shit. Oh, this is the Nintendo Switch Edition? Really? Nintendo gets this treatment the most. I mean, Yakuza 1 and 2 HD on PS3, Yakuza 1 and 2 HD for Wii U on Wii U. To be fair, they've done this themselves, most notably with Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS, but also with Super Mario Maker for Nintendo 3DS, Brain Training for Nintendo Switch, etc.
I feel like I could be wrong, but I think like for some of these games, it's also because like the Switch version is just notably like reduced in performance, or it took a lot of extra effort, or it may have been assigned to like a specific company to port it. I don't know. It's a good point though. I want to look into that.
Anyways, I don't blame them, as I mean, Smash for Wii U and 3DS have the same characters and roughly the same gameplay, but there are some unique features on Wii U, like swimming and climbing ladders, different stages and modes across both games. They're different titles, but the same. So what else would
I played 3DS.
But I think using the console's name in a video game title just goes to show how potentially lacking of character that specific game has. Damn, you're no nonsense today. The identity of this video game
Mario Kart DS bang though
is that it's on a video game console. Sometimes I swear companies do this to mask what their game truly is. Rayman DS, it's Rayman 2. Rayman 3D, it's Rayman 2. Rayman Revolution? God damn, we get it. They're synonyms. Well, you think people are gonna buy these games because they think it'll be a completely new Rayman game? Judging on the back of Rayman DS and 3D make absolutely no mention of these being re-releases, and how I keep buying copies of Rayman 3D thinking it's not Rayman 2, it's clear this is another case of titling trickery. I'd honestly say this is borderline false advertising. Like Power Punch 2. There ain't no Power Punch 1. Which shows just how good the sequel is if they jump straight to 2.
Rayman 3D though is like the best version of Rayman 2.
So this game was originally developed as a sequel to Punch-Out, but publisher Nintendo dropped out during production, so the developer just released it as their own original game, but since they didn't have the rights to the Punch-Out name, they renamed it to Power Punch and added a 2 to the mix, as I guess they still viewed it as a sequel. I mean, it just goes to show how powerful a number in a title can be with a sequel. You have a billion-ass Kingdom Hearts games released between Kingdom Hearts 2 and 3. Like, literally, there was a mainline Kingdom Hearts game released on the Nintendo 3DS in 2012, and 1 year later, people still lost their minds over Kingdom Hearts 3 being announced at E3 2013, as if it's been so long since the last Kingdom Hearts. But you know what just rubs me the wrong way? When a series flip-flops between using Roman numerals and standard numbers for sequels. Ninja Gaiden, Ninja Gaiden 2, and Ninja Gaiden 3. I hope the fourth one uses tally marks and is a part of the Black Ops series. It's that inconsistency that doesn't necessarily bother me, but just perplexes me. Like, Why? Why are you like this? Especially when some games have subtitles and some don't. Like Resident Evil had this perfect string of sequel names. But then 3 just had to include Nemesis in the title. Hey, sometimes it's okay to stick out a little bit. And 3 thankfully wasn't the only one to do so. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. So they switched over to Roman numerals for this one, but it's all a part of the logo, highlighting the V, I, and part of the L in evil to make a 7. Then the subtitle Biohazard is actually the title of the Resident Evil franchise in Japan. So over there, the game is actually called Biohazard 7 Resident Evil, with the 7 coming out of the Z in Biohazard. Just
That's
everything
cool.
about these titles and logos are so clever and cool. I love them. It is weird though that while the subtitle being Biohazard is great and all, it doesn't really make a ton of sense. For this specific game, with this specific story, I'm not sure how well the term Biohazard represents it, as it's more of a cute nod to the series title in Japan, rather than an effective subtitle. And also, even with the English logo using a Roman numeral, most official listings of the game give it a standard number 7. But then with the next Resident Evil game, it followed the same format, had the Roman numeral 8 in the logo. That's not a part of the official name. It's not Resident Evil 8 Village, it's just Resident Evil Village. Why is the logo like this then? It's like Horizon Forbidden West. They put this Roman numeral 2 right here, but never refer to it when talking about the game. Maybe it's a pause button. But these specific cases, I can live with. Well, not for an extended period of time. They don't irritate me, they just perplex me. Now, sequel titles that do irritate me, well, less so irritate, more so enable.
Yeah.
Removing words from the franchise's name and following entries, I just don't like this. It feels cheap and tacky and lame. Like the game producers are trying to get hip with the lingo. Oh, people just call our series Gears. Well, we do too. You know, Gears of War 5 takes the same amount of effort to say as Gears of War 2 does, and we were doing just fine back then. This makes Gears 5 feel more like a spin-off than the 5th main entry in the series. It oversimplifies the franchise down to one word, like this is the word for us. Gear? I think it would have stuck out more simplifying it down to of. At least with Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, I mean, that's more acceptable due to Zelda being a far more iconic word, a word unanimously used to refer to the Legend of Zelda franchise as a whole. But man, it still just doesn't feel right. This works better as an abbreviation for fans to use. Quick slang for your game title, not its legal name. At least it's still easy to follow, you know? Gears 5 is the 5th main entry, Zelda 2 is the 2nd main entry. The 3rd, well, me then. Titlers love breaking from tradition to nab some attention. Now, sometimes a series changes for the better. Just Dance went from numbering the entries to just flat out labeling them by the year, which when your yearly music game series is basically just changing the song list with each entry, that's a good change to make. Dance Revolution always felt the need to give each title something unique, but it just overcomplicates everything. Like most of these subtitles are synonyms. For some series, just putting the year at the end, it makes sense. Like with Madden. Nothing but consistency. Sure, they went from naming it John Madden Football to Madden NFL, going from abbreviations of years to full years, back to abbreviations.
The first one I played was 96. I think, 97. Yes, I remember that cover. Oh, wait, no. The first one I played was 98. Wait, I meant to say 99. I swear I wasn't going to change it for a 4th time. Yeah, the first one I ever played was 99 on my grandparents' PS1. I don't know why. I think they got it so, like, when folks were over, they had something to entertain the kids. They also, for some reason, had Twisted Metal. They were very religious. I don't remember how that happened.
Asians again, and skipping John Madden Football 91. Okay, it's nothing but not consistency. However, ever since Madden NFL 06, things have been smooth sailing. Can't wait to look at the title for Madden 14! Well, now I have to change my legal documents. The 25th anniversary of Madden. Sure. Now, technically, this is the 25th entry in the series, but come on! I consider this to be a real dumb titling quirk done to just stand out while making your entire franchise more confusing to keep up with. Oh yeah, Madden 25! That actually didn't release in 2024. Battlefield 1! No, the first Battlefield was Battlefield 1942, which was followed by Battlefield Vietnam, and then Battlefield 2, then Battlefield 2142, then Battlefield 3, 4, then 1, then 5, now with a Roman numeral. Then Battlefield 2042. Battlefield 1943 may seem like a sequel to Battlefield 1942, but it's just a spin-off, so what does that make Battlefield 1 a spin-off as well, since Battlefield 5 isn't called Battlefield 6? No, it's mainline, unlike Battlefield Online opposed to the other Battlefield games that play online. All of them. Now where does this fit in the picture? Battlefield Online was a Korean exclusive entry in the series that mainly took assets from previous games to make an online multiplayer-only PC game tailor-made for that market, which is a more common practice than you may think. I mean, Call of Duty did it with Call of Duty Online for the Chinese market. I just find the titling funny when pretty much all the other games in the franchise have online play, acting like this is the online one. When Call of Duty World War II was announced, I was pretty annoyed, like acting as if this was the first and only Call of Duty to do World War II. I understand it had been a while since the last game focused on it, but titling it implies like, yup, this is the Call of Duty based in World War II, and this is the banana. Like, come on, man, at least name it something like World War II Returns or something. I don't know. Call it.
I feel like it is like the definitive, like it's supposed to be the like better than all the other World War II games. I feel like with that title, I don't know if it is, and that doesn't matter, but like that's the point behind the marketing, I think.
Call of Duty's already having the issue of reusing titles. We had Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, followed up with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and later on 3. Then with some re-releases of the first Modern Warfare, the number 4 was dropped, like with Call of Duty Modern Warfare Reflex Edition and Remastered.
Oh.
And then the 2019 game launched, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. To be fair, no other game was named that. And then the sequel to it, to also be fair, the same applies. I just wish sometimes they'd cut it with the reused titles. I mean, I get it. They don't care if they have 2 games called Modern Warfare 2 because 95% of the people buying aren't going to be having colorful discussions on the state of the video game industry and will never even reference a Call of Duty that released over 2 years ago.
Nostalgia.
Most of these consumers treat each new Call of Duty, Need for Speed, and Madden like a bag of chips. Open, consume, dispose of. So reusing a title or making this entry a confusing name in comparison to previous games, it doesn't matter. You can name the next Call of Duty Ice Smell. It would do just as well as last year's, and people would just call it the Call of Duty for this year.
Last year's smelled better, though.
But it also just rubs me the wrong way when games with the exact same name, logo, even box art release, and they are completely and utterly different. You can no longer just call the game Rayman Raving Rabbids. You have to specify Rayman Raving Rabbids, the Wii, Xbox 360, PlayStation 2, and PC version, or the Nintendo DS version, or the Game Boy Advance version, because these 3 games are nothing alike, being in different genres entirely. I feel that with these handheld versions of console games, they name them and market them as the same thing in a way to kind of trick unknowing consumers into thinking this is gonna be the same game you see all the commercials for on TV. I mean, come on, do you remember ever seeing the Game Boy Color version of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 in the advertising? No, they just show screenshots of the PlayStation version, but list Game Boy Color as one of the platforms. Oh, well, surely. If this isn't the real Tony Hawk 2, then what is? How many games are called Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune, and how many of them are truly the same? You know, this would be a great opportunity to use that 4 game system subtitle, but no, just call this Jeopardy, and this, well, make sure the people know. But you know what's the most depressing thing ever?
Why?
You title a game with Volume 1, showing the intentions of this being a long and meaningful series. SNK Arcade Classics Volume 1, Best of PlayStation Network Volume 1. Damn, it's almost like a Volume 2 exists, just like Madden 14. You gotta have a lot of confidence to put Volume 1 in a game's title, almost enough to ensure that Volume 2 is probably already underway. Is this used as a bargaining chip to get a sequel produced? It doesn't work. I will say something. I love seeing a prequel with the subtitle 0. I just think it sounds good, feels good.
Agree.
It's the perfect subtitle. It's a great buzzword on its own, and adding it to a franchise name, it's immediately obvious what it is. Earthbound released here in North America on the SNES, but is actually titled Mother 2 in Japan, with the first game on NES almost releasing over here in English, but getting canceled at the last minute. What was called Mother in Japan was meant to be called Earthbound here, but since that first game got scrapped, when they brought Mother 2 over, they just called that Earthbound. However, that original English localization was eventually found and dumped online by fans for people to download and play. Since we already had a game called Earthbound release, it just made sense for fans to call this Earthbound 0. I couldn't think of anything better to call it. You can find fan-made reproduction cartridges of the game with this title, and it just feels right. But then, Nintendo decided to finally officially release the game on the Wii U's eShop in 2015. What did they call it? This is one of my least favorite titles ever. It sounds so dumb. I'm sure they would have loved to actually call it Earthbound 0, but had to settle for beginnings because we don't want people to know fans exist. Sure, don't use the word 0, but why beginnings? Why not origins, inception? Hell, Genesis is a synonym for beginning, and that would have been a wicked subtitle. Yeah, it may have already been used for the Sega console, but there are other books of the Old Testament, Deuteronomy. But no, you pick 3 of the worst syllables I've ever heard. Though I've heard worse. Some names just look and sound weird the first time you see them. I remember calling The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Zelda Wii U for years before it finally got its official name. And I thought using the word breath felt off. You look up any reaction to a new game getting announced online, and every single person posting a video has to say the title out loud when it appears on screen.
Breath of the Wild didn't sound good until like the game actually came out, I feel like.
Super Smash Brothers Ultimate? Oh, Jumanji the video game!
Oh! Which, hey, this game, Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE.
Bless you.
Originally announced as a crossover between Shin Megami Tensei and Fire Emblem, titled none other than Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem, which we'll get to you later. Eventually was renamed to an unlocalized Japanese title for a bit, and then Tokyo Mirage Session Sharp FE. Yes, Sharp, not hashtag or number or pound. Not sure why we needed this portion. I understand FE is an abbreviation for Fire Emblem, and many have pointed out how TMS backwards is SMT, Shin Megami Tensei. I have to give them credit. They found a way to incorporate both series titles into one while keeping this as its own separate thing, which is what it is. While originally planned as a traditional crossover between SMT and Fire Emblem, it became more of an original game that just plays like Shin Megami Tensei, with Fire Emblem characters making appearances assisting the main cast who are completely new and original. So I guess the title was as good as we could get. I still think the Sharp FE is unnecessary though. Like, if you wanted to push out Fire Emblems in the game, the title already barely makes any sense, just throw it in there. But again, I guess they wanted to push this as its own original thing rather than specifically advertise it as a Fire Emblem game. Except they did just that in a few trailers they posted online.
I don't even play this game.
Let's talk about that pesky cross. Christ. Kind of an odd trend for a bit there was using an X between two words to symbolize a crossover and pronouncing it as Cross. Shin Megami Cross Fire Emblem, Street Fighter Cross Tekken, Street Fighter Cross Mega Man, Project Cross Zone, which, what is that? A tactical role-playing game featuring characters from Sega, Namco, and Capcom? Oh, I get the title now.
Letters.
Then they started moving away from the cross and started using a plus sign instead. Mario plus Rabbids, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga plus Bowser's Minions, 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, Advance Wars 1 plus 2, Pro Skater 1 plus 2, Box Boy plus Box Girl. Just where did this trend come from? The plus sign I find to look a little juvenile. I don't like that. I'm too mature for this. I'm an adult who eats caviar. Localized titles. Something they just don't do anymore. I've been a little confused as to why Bandai Namco stopped using the English title for Taiko no Tatsujin. You know, Taiko Drum Master. We got it over here on the PS2. It's just a fun rhythm game with a drum peripheral. We only ever got this game in North America, but Japan just kept on getting these damn things. Finally, in 2018, we got another localized title. The first Nintendo Switch entry in the series, Taiko no Tatsujin Drum and Fun. They didn't even try to change anything like they did with the PS2 game, changing the song list for North America. They didn't have the Jimmy Neutron theme in Japan. In Drum and Fun, it's nothing but Japanese pop songs, anime music, the works, which, hey, it's cool to see they're sticking to what makes Taiko Taiko. But like I said, I'm just confused why they don't just call it Taiko Drum Master over here still. It's not like a butchered localized title. Taiko no Tatsujin roughly translates to Taiko Master of Drums. I guess because they're barely changing anything from the Japanese releases song-wise now, they wanted to convey that through the title itself, which, thinking about it that way, it makes sense.
They have Chala, Head Chala. Oh my god, that's crazy. Okay, I kind of want to buy it now. But I feel like Taiko sounds so good though.
Now, Europe, I have a question. Why? Mario and Luigi Dream Team. Good title, games about dreams and Mario and Luigi teaming up. Brilliant. Now, why do they have to call it Mario and Luigi Dream Team Brothers in Europe? To show they did the math? This is one of the most peculiar name changes from North America to Europe, second only to Mario and Luigi. Mario and Luigi Paper Jam. Great title. Game's about a crossover between the Mario and Luigi RPG series and the Paper Mario RPG series. Jamming them both together, it's absolutely perfect. But did their parents well, that makes even less sense. At least with Dream Team, it's like, okay, Dream Team and Brothers are related enough terms. Paper Jam Brothers just sounds like I'm ending one sentence and starting another. Europe often gets these over-explanatory titles, like Mario Strikers being titled Mario Strikers Football, Kirby's Return to Dreamland being Kirby's Adventure Wii, Star Fox being I don't know. But hands down, one of the biggest localization titling fiascos was the Final Fantasy series. Final Fantasy 1, 2, and 3 all happily came over from Japan to North America. Not Europe, though. They were happy just getting the spin-off title, Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, which was titled Mystic Quest Legend over there. And then all of a sudden, in 1997, math. After Final Fantasy 3 came Final Fantasy 7, or for Europe, after one Final Fantasy that wasn't even titled Final Fantasy, came Final Fantasy 7. This was, of course, due to not every Final Fantasy releasing outside of Japan at the time, so we never received the original Final Fantasy 2 and 3. Though we did receive 4, they just renamed it to Final Fantasy 2 over here. Same with 6, we got it as 3. By the time Final Fantasy 7 launched, I think they realized how counterintuitive this was. Sure, you may not have released all the games over here, but you're not even naming them something different with a subtitle or something, so in the end, we have 2 Final Fantasy 2s and 2 3s. Eventually, they filled in the blanks over time. All the Final Fantasies became playable in some form throughout the world, so they did this for the best. If they kept up this naming convention, Final Fantasy X would actually be Final Fantasy VII, which would be the stupidest thing I've seen all day. It just turned midnight.
Yeah.
Skipping entries is an oddly common trend with video games. Hell, Dragon Quest still does it to this day.
11's a
It actually
banger.
went through a whole localization name change back in the day, titled Dragon Warrior here for the first few entries until converting to the original Japanese name Dragon Quest. This was due to another product.
I had a demo disc, like one of those PS2 demo disc magazine subscriptions, and I remember Dragon Quest 8 was one of the ones where like I just played the tutorial over and over again. I didn't know what an RPG was. It was so cool to me. One day I want to play the full game just to see what happens. At least the tutorial introduction section again, you know? Remember, see if what I was so interested in as a kid.
Already being titled Dragon Quest in North America, similar to why Star Fox's name had to be changed in Europe for a bit until the rights issues were figured out for later entries. Hey, it may be confusing, but thank God they don't lie. If there's one thing I don't respect, it's a title that lies. Going back to Final Fantasy VII Remake. Is it a spoiler to say they're on thin ice? Not only does the game only cover the first, I don't know, third of the original Final Fantasy VII, now being split up into 3 different remake entries, but they changed so much and turned it into a completely different game with a completely different story. To be fair, they are remaking it. Just because you remake something doesn't mean it's beat for beat. The title doesn't lie like crazy, but they obviously know what they're doing. The box art and logo, the opening, it's all supposed to give the vibe that this is the original Final Fantasy VII remade for modern audiences. But in reality, it's an alternate take on FF7, so calling it this is kind of misleading. There's no getting around it. Though I can understand and agree with arguments in its favor, Dreamcast Collection gets no sympathy. That's a damn Sega Saturn game. Grand Theft Auto, the Trilogy, the Definitive Edition. Alright, well, you use the word "the" in the title twice. No, 3 times. I just find this to be a sloppy one. The Trilogy, the Definitive Edition. But on top of that, Definitive Edition. Yeah, okay. Definitive Edition should only be used when, like, yeah, no shit. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition is definitely the definitive way to play, but even then, when it doesn't include some content introduced in Xenoblade Chronicles 3D, like, you could've just called it Xenoblade Remastered, you know? And don't even get me started on movie games. Like, isn't it kind of weird when a game based on a movie still has the word movie in it? Like, I get it, it's based on the movie. You can't just call the game based on the SpongeBob movie anything but. That's why it's good to be more specific sometimes. This isn't B-movie, this is B-movie game. Just call it B-game. Oh, I'm sorry, that's already taken. But you know what really rubs me the wrong way with many games like this is when you have to have the presenter at the beginning of the title. It's not Tarzan Untamed, it's Disney's Tarzan Untamed. In a game like Epic Mickey, it's not even Disney's Epic Mickey, it's just Disney Epic Mickey. Where does it go on an alphabetical list? Is this Guilty Party or Disney Guilty Party? Is this Cars the video game or Disney Pixar Cars the video game? It's like everybody just calls this series Civilization, not Sid Meier's Civilization, but that's what's on the game's spine. So when I alphabetize my games, do I do the right thing the wrong way or the wrong thing the right way? Alphabetizing your games definitely makes you see these things in a bit of a different light. Like how some Mario spin-offs swap between titling themselves Mario and Super Mario, which can get kind of annoying when games like Super Mario Party and Mario Party Superstars are on the same console. Now they go in different spots on the shelf. Then when you have sequels to games that always start with a different word, Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, The first game is last here. The World Ends With You to Neo, The World Ends With You. Why couldn't it have been The World Ends With You Neo? Especially when making Neo the core title of this game, like, there's already Neo games on the PlayStation 4. But this Neo is supposed to be a futuristic feeling variant of the word new, which we already get enough of. New Super Mario Brothers, new Pokemon Snap, new Super Lucky's Tale, new Carnival games, which they went from Carnival games to new Carnival games, back to Carnival games again.
And they say taxes are complicated.
Listen, I get it. The word new is very safe. It makes sense in many regards, like with new Pokemon Snap. Yeah, you could name it Pokemon Snap too, but the game is more about doing the same thing the original did, again, while being its own game. So, new Pokemon Snap makes sense. You could call it Super Pokemon Snap or something, but new works in this situation. Same with new Super Mario Brothers. The problem is, when you make 9 more of them, you start to question the authenticity of the word new here. It can become incredibly confusing. New is always used to describe the condition of your video game. New Super Mario Brothers. Used. The word kind of implies this is just an improved and updated version of an old thing, when in most cases, it's actually a direct follow-up or successor. But parents will just look up new Super Mario game for their kids, and this is always what pops up, so that must be why it sells so well. But if they were willing to use such a marketing-friendly term for one Pokemon game, dear God, why not this one? Pokken Tournament, a Pokemon fighting game in the style of Tekken, hence why the 2 names are combined. I don't know why they didn't just call it Pokemon Tournament. I get the pun they're making, but you do realize the game would do infinitely better if you stop being cute about it. Just do what Ubisoft did, okay? They made a game called Gods and Monsters. That works. Just do that. Isn't it the worst when the working title for a game is better than the final title? Like, I prefer the working titles for Octopath Traveler and Triangle Strategy because they gave me hope for a future that never happened.
God, my uncle for putting me through so much misery. If it wasn't for letters, I wouldn't have to know why this pisses me off. You know, just to spite him, I'm not gonna use letters anymore. But I can damn well use words. And I'm gonna spread them, telling everybody how we're done using letters. And by proxy, titles. Can't be pissed if I can't read. Or
True.
So, say goodbye, Mr. Bones, and please welcome, what? Oh man, I wanna play tennis. What have I done?
Tragedy. Interesting video. Do you have anything at the end, or is it just like out row? Yeah, it is. Okay, so that was funny. Like I like how he just had like a rant for 30 minutes basically. Basically, he got annoyed organizing his games and decided to talk about it. Wow, game title Scott the Woz uploaded at 9 p.m. ET is even better than game title Scott the Woz uploaded at 8 p.m. ET. I didn't even think that was possible. I see. I've done that before. Although I never actually released the video before it like gets incorrectly uploaded. And like, sorry, I realized I barely even said anything about the video. Like, he is right. Like, a lot of game titles annoy me too. I feel like there's some of them, like, especially like all the ones for like SNES are like things I heard about. Like, oh, these already exist when I grew up. So to me, they seem like normal, and all those seem fine. But it's the stuff where it's like all the ones I got to in the later part of the video, like, so true. So true. I hate the new thing. I'm from Europe, and here we call this video game title Scott the Woz Bros. Yes. Also, the Europe titles are so weird. Like, I don't get it. Ah, I see Scott has now entered the I can't read arc of his career. Same. You can only get so far without game titles. Okay, this is this. Favorite cleverish game title is still Kirby Triple Deluxe. It was the first Kirby on 3DS and the 10th mainline Kirby platformer. So they abbreviated it as 3DX or Triple Deluxe. Also 3D, DDD, DDD, and thus DDD plays a large role in the story. It's cute. That's pretty good. I like that. I played that, I think, with my little sister a bit. Wait, no. I don't remember. Did it get ported to Wii U? Or to Switch? No, it didn't. Oh, I debated buying it instead of Robobot. I remember. For those new to the Scott First, this video is a prequel to the Art of Box Art and its spin-off Game Packaging. Noted. The worst part about games that use a new title is how poorly it ages. Yes. New Super Mario Bros. On the DS is over 16 years old. A good portion of the human population are younger than the game with new. The worst part is that no matter how old the game is, it'll always be new, even when it can legally drink. By the time it came out on the Wii U Virtual Console, the game was about 9 years old, but still flew the banner new. Yes, I hate it so much. Like, I get that, like, the games play a bit different, and they are, like, the new branch, the new, like, way to designate the 2D games, but still. Earthbound Beginnings is a better title than Zero or anything else. Love that alliteration and the fact that it's fairly unique, unlike Origin Zero. Beginnings feels like it's the first part of like Earthbound 2 or something. I don't know, like it just doesn't seem like it doesn't have the weight behind it. There's something sort of edgy and self-serious about Origins and Genesis that doesn't fit Earthbound the way. Okay, actually, yeah, that's fair. I haven't played Earthbound. So maybe Beginnings does make more sense. Any of them, I should specify. Bloodborne is such a great title, given the lore behind it. The beasts were born of human blood, we were born of the blood, made men by the blood, made more by the blood, and undone by the blood. Master Wilhelm. It's almost like that by refining the blood to its fundamental properties, we became the animals we once were, and lost our humanity. Huh. I need to play Bloodborne still. Alright. That was a pretty good video. I don't really have too much to say on it, but it was real. Like, I love Scott the Woz videos. They're really enjoyable. Anyways, thank you for watching, folks. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye. Hey folks, thank you so much for watching. Remember to like the video, subscribe on YouTube, follow on Twitch, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.